Magnesium is for 600 plus biochemical processes in the human body, and yet most people are deficient. Common signs of magnesium deficiency include fatigue, muscle weakness, stunted growth, poor immune function, poor concentration and memory, hormonal imbalances, bone and teeth problems. Most people think grabbing a bottle of whatever cheap stuff on the shelf or at the top of Amazon will solve this. The common misconception is that consuming more magnesium will automatically improve health and well-being. The truth is, there are various forms of magnesium, each of which is essential for a variety of physiological processes. Most people are deficient in all forms of magnesium, while even those considered healthy typically only ingest one or two kinds. Consuming all 7 of magnesium's primary forms is the key to accessing all of its health benefits. That's why we pack 7 forms of 450 milligrams of elemental magnesium into each serving of Wild Mag Complex. 1 dose a day is all you need. Learn more and grab a bottle today at wildfoods.co. Use code GENIUS for 10% off your order.
Forget frequently asked questions.
Common sense.
Before we get started, I have a quick favor. I've been self-funding the Finding Genius podcast for 5 years now. I've done over 3,000 episodes. And as you can see on YouTube, we're up over 1 million views on the channel, which is fantastic. The next thing I really want to push on is to get up to 10,000 subscribers, because once we do, we'll be able to put a donate button, and we'll be able to solicit donations to help keep the podcast running and to also get the Finding Genius Foundation moving along. We have a big project studying anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and working on a product to help people overcome these problems, because I've seen them explode recently after the last 2 years of the whole virus situation. So if you would, please subscribe to the podcast. That would help us tremendously. Give us a thumbs up and check in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. It's about $5. If you could buy me a coffee, I'd really appreciate it. It would help keep the channel going, and I love coffee. Thank you.
Forget frequently asked questions.
Common sense, common knowledge, or Google.
How about advice from a real genius? 95% of people in any profession are good enough to be qualified and licensed. 5%
Go above and beyond.
they become very good at what they do, but only
0.1%.
are real geniuses. Richard Jacobs has made it his life's mission to find them for you. He hunts down and interviews geniuses in every field: sleep science, cancer, stem cells, ketogenic diets, and more. Here come the geniuses. This is the Finding Genius Podcast
With Richard Jacobs.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius Podcast, now part of the Finding Genius Foundation. Today I have Craig Goldberg. He's a relaxation expert. We're going to talk about the use of sound, vibration, and frequency to help people relax. So, Craig, thank you for coming.
Grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I immediately started thinking, Tibetan bowls and, some of those audios on YouTube. The background first, and then we'll talk about your protocols.
Yeah, absolutely. It all started for me with those bowls, so we can definitely dive into that at some point. I'm originally from New York, born and raised on Long Island, lived in Manhattan for 10 years, then San Diego, then full-time in a motorhome, traveling around the country, actually sharing this technology with the world and really positioning myself as an evangelist for vibroacoustic therapy. And we've been doing this for just over 6 years. Shortly, at some point in the last year or two, I started to notice how stressed and anxious the world is. The pandemic, I think, exacerbated really what is a crisis that's happening here in the United States of stress and anxiety. And when you start to look into the impact that stress and anxiety has on the nervous system, and more importantly, obviously, how important the nervous system is to our general functionality, right? It controls just about everything in the body. You start to recognize functionality, right? It controls just about everything in the body. You start to recognize why particularly Americans are in such bad shape. We're heavier than we've ever been. We are dying now. This generation is the first generation to die with a shorter life expectancy than its previous generation. And we're just trending in the wrong direction. And when you start to look at why that is, at the root of it all, foundationally, is our nervous system. And humans that are ultimately designed to live in a cool, calm, and collected mindset that are operating far too often in a stressed and anxious mindset and nervous system response. And it's really been the foundation of what we've been talking about over the last couple of years. It's been very well received. Our company is growing and expanding rapidly. And I think this is a message that everybody needs to hear. And I'm honored and excited to be here. Super grateful. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, no problem. So why do you think people's nervous systems are I don't know about the root cause of the problem or what's changing in people to cause them.
So look, the top 6 out of the top 10 causes of death here in the United States are the underlying factors of stress and anxiety. They obviously appear and represent on a hospital document much differently, but ultimately at the core is stress and anxiety and a nervous system response that is designed to get us out of trouble. It was designed, it's fight or flight. Just about everybody listening knows what a fight or flight response is. It's designed to keep us safe. It's triggered by a reptilian part of our brain, which is to say that it was developed thousands of years ago to keep us safe. And fortunately, I think for many of us, especially those that are listening to this broadcast on an iPhone, or even if it's a radio play, an actual radio, chances are they're sitting in their car. They might be in traffic on their way to work. They might be streaming this on their smartphone as they're laying in a park, hopefully clouds pass by. Generally speaking, we live in a pretty safe environment. We have shared resources. We have police forces and first responders. And generally speaking, today's day and age, we live in a pretty safe environment. Now, there are absolutely threats to our lives and our livelihood, and those need to be considered. However, generally speaking, we live in a pretty safe environment. Our nervous system is not caught up to the safety that we all enjoy day in and day out. And obviously, it's not the same community to community. It's not the same country to country or even state to state for that matter. But generally speaking, we live in a pretty safe environment. That reptilian part of our brain that triggers the sympathetic nervous system response, also known as stress and anxiety or fight or flight, is triggered involuntarily. We can have some influence on it. We can impact how it's triggered. We can impact what triggers it. But generally speaking, when the nervous system interacts with the world around us and notices and identifies a threat, it reacts and it puts the body into a sympathetic nervous system response. And that sympathetic nervous system response does a few core things that are worth mentioning. There are many others, but there's a few core things worth mentioning. First of all, as soon as your nervous system identifies a threat, and we could talk about how that happens, but generally speaking, it surges cortisol and adrenaline into the bloodstream. The cortisol makes you hyper-present and focused on the matter at hand. The adrenaline diverts energy from core functionality in the body to the major muscle groups of the body, giving you the ability to fight or run. This sympathetic nervous system response, by the way, is the same nervous system response whether you are fighting off a threat to your livelihood or life that's right in front of you, or if you get an email on a Friday afternoon from your boss that says your entire division is being closed down and you're now out of work. That out of work is certainly a threat to your livelihood. It's your income. However, it's not the same threat as a physical threat in front of you. And yet it's the same response from the body, the cortisol, the adrenaline. That does 3 things that are worth mentioning. 4, actually. After that cortisol and adrenaline hit your bloodstream, your body turns off your ability to think rationally. Kind of an important thing if it's the latter threat of your livelihood, like you've gotten laid off, right? You want that rational thinking. Not as necessary if there's a physical threat in front of you, because you either need to run or fight, and that decision is made very quickly by sizing up your opponent and a few other factors that you don't necessarily need rational thinking. In addition to that adrenaline and cortisol flowing through your blood turns off your digestive system. So now it doesn't matter how organic or clean or what supplements you're taking or what you've consumed, because you're not absorbing it. Turns off your immune system, something that's pretty important for keeping us alive, especially over the last 3.5 years. And it turns off your reproductive organ. Your body does not need these bodily functions to operate because it's in save your life mode, life or death mode, right? And that's fine if it's a short period of time in the afternoon or you're triggered because of an existential threat that's right in front of you. That's great. What's not okay is if you're walking around from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, day in and day out, month in and month out, in that sympathetic nervous system response. And reading an email from your boss or a client or something to that effect right before you go to bed will absolutely trigger a sympathetic nervous system response. And that cortisol flowing through your blood and the adrenaline flowing through your blood will absolutely have a negative impact on the quality of your sleep. In fact, quite the opposite. It might keep you awake for hours on end, tossing and turning. So you can quickly identify when I share just these few points about what happens in that sympathetic or fight or flight or that stressed and anxious nervous system response, why so many Americans are having issues keeping themselves healthy, nutrition, and gaining nutrients, vitamins, minerals from the food they're eating.
Magnesium is integral for 600 plus biochemical processes in the human body, and yet most people are deficient. Common signs of magnesium deficiency include fatigue, muscle weakness, stunted growth, poor immune function, poor concentration and memory, hormonal imbalances, bone and teeth problems. Most people think grabbing a bottle of whatever cheap stuff on the shelf or at the top of Amazon will solve this. The common misconception is that consuming more magnesium will automatically improve health and well-being. The truth is, there are various forms of magnesium, each of which is essential for a variety of physiological processes. Most people are deficient in all forms of magnesium, while even those considered healthy typically only ingest 1 or 2 kinds. Consuming all 7 of magnesium's primary forms is the key to accessing all of its health benefits. Pack 7 forms of 450 milligrams of elemental magnesium into each serving of Wild Mag Complex. 1 dose a day is all you need. Learn more and grab a bottle today at wildfoods.co. Use code GENIUS for 10% off your order.
These are core functions that without leave you ill-equipped to handle the day-to-day functioning in society. And it's really something so foundational. I think more people need to know what they need to do in order to relax and how important it is to invest time into relaxation techniques and in some cases technology that might be able to help you to do that. And that's where we come in at inHarmony Interactive.
So, okay, do you do an evaluation of someone, or is it a product that they're buying? Again, is
yeah, so inHarmony Interactive, yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. So yeah, we make technology that helps the body relax. We make what we call, the formal body of research is called vibroacoustic therapy. Vibration, acoustic is sound. So we're talking about sound and vibration therapy, that same Tibetan bowl that you thought of when you began to think about inHarmony Interactive. And what we do here is an acoustic instrument. We make digital delivery systems for sound and vibration to the physical body, and it's a much more amplified experience than that Tibetan singing bowl that I have here in my house and I absolutely love. But in order to experience the benefits of that Tibetan bowl, you need to play it, or you need to bring somebody in to play it so that you can relax. And I really wanted something that could one button push, and I could have that same therapeutic experience, because that Tibetan bowl is amazing for bringing your body into what's called harmonic resonance with the frequency that it produces. But I wanted something where I could turn on, lay down, and enjoy. And that's the inHarmony Sound Lounge. And then we also have our inHarmony Practitioner, which is designed to augment body work with vibrational therapy. And then we also have our inHarmony Practitioner, which is designed to augment body work with vibrational therapy. And we also have our meditation cushion. All 3 of these pieces of technology are designed to play music. And we have a media company, inHarmony Media, which makes and manufactures and produces what we call music meditations that you can play either through our technology or just through a set of headphones or a Bluetooth speaker by downloading the app through the App Store, and you'll have instant access to just over 140 or so music meditations that can guide the mind, body, and spirit into a deep, relaxed state.
Well, I see some on YouTube that, I don't know, they say, oh, this one cleans the kidneys, or this one, helps your third eye. And I don't know if you guys have tailored type of music, or is it just relaxation, deep relaxation, study music? I've seen a whole bunch of these things on YouTube. What do you guys have, and what do you think of the stuff that...
The long and the short of it is the intention that you put into the experience trumps everything else. So while sound and frequency is powerful, and there have been lots of studies on that's the formal body of research that I study is VAT, or vibroacoustic therapy. And the formal body of research goes back just over 40 years to the late 1970s, where a gentleman by the name of Olav Skill began to study specific frequencies and their impact on our physiology. And this body of research has obviously expanded since and continued to grow. But these frequencies do impact different parts of our physiology, and they can direct energy towards different aspects of our overall health and wellness, whether that's chakra systems that are opening and closing, or physical vibrations that resonate with different organs or different parts of the body. The body interprets lower frequencies through the bigger muscles in the body, and higher frequencies through the smaller muscles. Lower frequencies through the bigger muscles in the body, and higher frequencies through the smaller muscles in the body. So just by focusing energy on that, you could stimulate different aspects of your physiology using different frequencies. And this can help with circulation. It can help with detox pathways through lymphatic drainage. It can help improve recovery times. It can have a variety. It's antispasmodic. Vibroacoustic therapy is scientifically proven to be antispasmodic. So if you have muscles that are twitching around in your body and spasming, vibroacoustic therapy can help to ease that spasming and in some cases stop it completely. So there are a lot of really powerful aspects to sound and frequency. When you start to look into the impact that sound and frequency has on our physiology, on our nervous system, that's one thing. On our brain is another. We can test this by using an EEG or echoencephalograph, which is like a little swim cap that you put on your head. It's got 19 typically synapses in your brain are firing. And when you listen to music and when you listen to specific frequencies, or when you listen to binaural beats or isochronic tones, which are different types of frequencies and sounds, the brain entrains to the patterns that are presented to it in the music. So you could induce different brainwave states using different frequencies. So there's quite a bit that goes into that. And obviously there's a multitude of different music producers, especially on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, right? All these different aspects, not to mention Calm or Headspace or Insight Timer, or of course on the inHarmony Music Meditations app as well. There's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different places that you can go to find this type of music. And the key is to align yourself with a producer that you like and find music that resonates with you and meets you where you are on your journey, because we're all in different places. We're all experiencing different things, and we all have a different harmonic resonance for our mind, body, and spirit at that particular time. I don't believe there's any bad frequencies. I don't believe there's any one perfect frequency for all, because we're all in different parts of our life cycle. We're all in different parts of this human experience. It's really interesting when you start to dig into the science and the research.
So what are some of the products that you offer? What are some of the specific areas they target? And what will the sound like? I guess a brief description. What's an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 different products. The inHarmony Sound Lounge is our flagship product. The inHarmony Practitioner is designed to augment body work with sound and vibration. And the inHarmony Meditation Cushion is designed to help you reach deeper meditative states using sound and vibration in more of a smaller footprint or form factor, like a meditation. All of our technology uses something called a tactile transducer, which is a fancy word for half of a speaker. Not exactly, but generally speaking, it's the magnet that is included inside the driver of a subwoofer. And as you're listening to our music meditations, you're also feeling the very immersive experience, because you are listening to the same frequencies that you're feeling. And our music has a very specific cadence to it and a very specific vibration to it. It's called microtonal, is the formal genre. And it has long pole drone notes. Think of like a bass guitar instead of a kick drum. And these frequencies, when the body is presented with them, the body entrains to these vibrations. And when you're listening to the same frequencies that you're feeling, it creates this 3-dimensional, fully immersive sound experience that makes you feel as though you're inside the music. Because when you're sitting on the meditation cushion, you've got the tactile transducers underneath your root, and then you're either listening through the built-in speakers or through headphones. And the mind interprets this as a fully immersive experience because it's feeling the same frequencies that you're hearing. And it creates a very unique delivery system for what we're doing. And it really creates a very unique delivery system for what we're doing. And it really, you tune out. I mean, your body basically becomes slightly overwhelmed by the experience and drops in to that meditative state, which is alpha or theta brainwave state. And in that state, we have no concept of time. Typically, our eyes are closed and we are simply lost in the music, which is exactly what we're going for. We say on our website, say goodbye to a distracted mind, which is a little bit of a misnomer. We're distracting your mind with music and vibration.
Could someone use this while they're driving? Now, obviously, you don't want one that'll put them to sleep and kill them.
It depends on the human. I typically don't recommend it, but there are certainly people in our network that do tell us that they listen to it while they're driving, or they'll turn it on when they're in traffic, particularly those living in LA that are particularly fed up with being in traffic yet again. So yeah, I typically don't recommend it, although For many of us, our car stereo system is the most immersive and most powerful, right? I certainly, however, not necessarily while you're driving, or could be, dropped into a deeper meditative state. That's not ideal while you're driving.
Right, but one that you would use for studying, why couldn't that be used, let's say, for driving? If it improves concentration and focus, maybe it would help you driving, or you not focus on those kinds of sounds.
It's a little bit of a misconception that music helps you to focus. Music, if you're able to listen, when you look at the science and the research on studying while listening to music, it's only recommended if you're able to listen to the same music when you're taking the exam and trying to regurgitate that information, because that's how the brain actually records information and memories. When you record a memory, your brain records your five senses at the same time, what you're hearing, tasting, feeling, smelling. So it's really only advisable to listen to music if you can listen to music during the exam or when you need to bring that information back. Music can absolutely...
It does nothing, or what happens?
It's not going to have as great of an impact. It does have... Conscious mind is processing something like 4 billion stimuli per second. Let that set it. I mean, 4 billion stimuli per second is the amount of inputs into your brain at any 1 second between your five senses and throughout the brain itself. That's obviously way too much information. The conscious mind handles 4 bits of information per second, 4 versus 4 billion. So when you're listening to music while you're studying, you're simply calming a lot of those senses. Again, depending on how loud the music is, you might be feeling it as well. But certainly you're occupying some of your brain capacity with the music that you're listening, which is what a lot of the science and the research. So yeah, it still does have a benefit, but it's not as big of a benefit if you can't listen to the same music while you're taking it.
But it does have some benefit, or is it just some drawback, small one?
No, it does have some benefit because your mind is occupied by the music that it's listening to. Keep in mind, even though it might be something that's in the background, your brain is occupied by the music that it's listening to. Keep in mind, even though it might be something that's in the background, your brain is still processing that information, the music that you're listening to. Look, it's no different if there's a vibratory hum coming from the fridge in your room that you're studying, right? So it's still sound, whether it's perceived as quote unquote music, or it's perceived as, or you're listening to something, whether it's kids playing outside or white noise. Regardless, your brain is still processing that background noise, still processing that sound through the ears and through that same sense.
Okay. So the protocols you have mostly are for relaxation after a difficult day, or if you want to just take out 10 minutes for maybe not even a cat nap, but just for like a zone out session. Is that what it's supposed to prepare?
Absolutely. Yeah. So downtime is as important as uptime. So for those of us that go, I have a 3-year-old, I have an amazing wife, and I go until 7 or 8 p.m. nonstop, something to do, something to focus my energy. And I use my sound lounge and meditation cushion throughout the day when I need to take a break. Inside our music meditations app, you'll find music meditations that range from 2 minutes to 2 hours. And depending on the day and your flow and the quality of the sleep I got the night before, will depend upon how much downtime I work into my day. But as soon as I start to feel myself slip, as soon as I start to feel myself groggy or not as focused as I could be, I'll go to my tech for sometimes 2 minutes, sometimes 5, 8 minutes, sometimes 11, 22, 30. It all depends on where I'm at and how I'm feeling and what the culmination of my last few nights of sleep and my energy levels feel like.
So what's a session versus, let's say, I'm not good at napping in the day unless I'm just dead. But I could see myself laying and listening to one of these experiences for like 10, 15 minutes. Has anyone studied the difference between someone taking, again, a 15, 20-minute nap versus listening to a session? What happens?
Yeah, absolutely. Sleep is a perception of our reality, if you will. And there is actually a really close tie between meditation and mindfulness and sleep. Again, sleep is nothing more than a slower brainwave state. So taking us out of beta, which is processing the world around us, drifting down into an alpha brainwave state, which is measured between 8 hertz up to about 12 to 14 hertz. A theta brainwave state beneath that is measured between 4 hertz and 7.5, 8 hertz. And then below that is a delta brainwave state, which is typically 3.5 hertz and below, down to about a half a hertz. Above that is gamma, which is above 40 hertz, above a beta brainwave. And sleep is really nothing more than our brain moving through these brainwave states drifting out of beta into alpha, alpha into theta, theta into delta, and then back up from delta. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 of the sleep cycle is preparing our body for the depth of sleep, getting us ultimately into a theta brainwave state, which is where we are during rapid eye movement sleep, which is stage 5, if you will, of that sleep cycle. So yeah, if you can use our tech and our music to help and train your brain to move from a beta brainwave into alpha, theta, or delta. Through a partnership we have with BrainTap, you could actually hold the brain in an alpha, theta, delta, or gamma brainwave state. Even an SMR, which is a sensor motory brainwave, which is almost like a digital cup of coffee. It's very stimulating. And you can do this in durations from 2 minutes to 2 hours, and help the brain to gain rest. When the brain moves from beta into alpha, alpha into theta, theta into delta, when it's in these different brainwave states, not beta, it's basically cleaning. It's not beta. It's basically cleaning, cleansing, detoxifying, and reorganizing itself. So, for example, I read this study a long time ago that basically said 20 minutes in theta is equivalent to about 6 hours of. So using our technology, you can induce a theta brainwave state and you can hold your brain there. What we work with an HRV through BrainTap as well, and it looks at 9 different aspects of your heart rate variability. For example, the Apple Watch looks at 2 different aspects, and then they extrapolate a bunch of data from that heart rate variability. And what we can see is that most people are spending most of their time in a delta brainwave, even when their eyes are open and they're processing the world around them, not focused on beta or alpha, which is where we're designed to be for optimal neural activity and brainwave activity. And that mostly delineated, most of that is extrapolated from screen time and the tremendous amounts of screen time that we have. But you can bore our inHarmony tech or pair them together to teach your brain how to move in and out of these different brainwave states more effectively, more efficiently.
What does that do for somebody? Like if they're able to transition themselves, what do they experience?
Well, the contrary is worse, right? So, and this goes back to kind of what I shared with you at the beginning of the interview. If we're walking around in a sympathetic nervous system response, then we are ill-equipped to handle the day-to-day trials and tribulations. Likewise, if your brain is not operating as efficiently and effectively as it can, you're going to experience brain fog. You're going to experience an inability to get high-quality sleep. And I'm not talking about not having, like my 3-year-old climbs into my bed right now at 2:00 in the morning. It's a new phase that she's been going through over the last couple of weeks. And before that, she was sleeping 12 hours a night. Now I wake up in the middle of the night and then I toss and turn a little bit while she sleeps next to me, right? I'm not getting the same quality sleep that I was getting. The technology isn't she sleeps next to me, right? I'm not getting the same quality sleep that I was getting. The technology isn't necessarily going to help with that, although it can help you more efficiently fall back those deeper brainwave states. But it appears differently for lots of different people. Generally speaking, you're not going to feel on. You're not going to feel yourself. You're not going to feel well rested. You're going to feel discombobulated or a little lost, a little frazzled. There's lots of different ways that this can show up in your day-to-day life if your brain is not optimized. And that's most Americans, by the way. Most of us are walking around not optimal. And there's lots of different technologies that can help you with that. Not just what we do here, but regular meditation is key to that. Teaching your brain how to move from beta into alpha, alpha into theta, theta into delta, how to reach those deeper meditatives. We're a culture that prides itself on being busy. We're a culture that prides itself on being nonstop. I even find myself drifting into that belief and sharing it as a badge, right? A rite of passage, how you do important as our uptime. In other words, giving our brain and our body an opportunity to rest, to rejuvenate, and to restore itself is really important. It's an important bodily function. And most Americans will tell you that they're not sleeping well, that they don't sleep soundly through the night, that they're not getting more than 3 to 4 hours. And that's a very big problem for the way your body is designed to operate. And it will lead to disease. It will lead to your body breaking down prematurely. It's really something that's foundational to the overall function of the body and the brain and the nervous system.
So what are some comments from users as to the different, soundscapes that they could listen to? What are those told you as feedback?
Yeah, the feedback is phenomenal. I'm very fortunate. This is very much a passion project for me. I mean, obviously it's a business that needs to sustain itself. But generally speaking, it's the testimony and the feedback that we get from our clients that keeps me charging forward. and pushing forward. All the testimonials that are on our website, inHarmony.com. Testimonials that are on our website, inHarmony.com. You can look for the reviews tab at the top. Those are all legitimate, authentic, and from our user base. Folks talk about feeling relaxed.
Any of them jump out at you?
I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, there's testimonials that I get that I can't publish because they make claims or because they talk about a 3-word agency recognized disease states, and that voids my ability to use it because it's interpreted as a claim. But yeah, I mean, I've got folks that have been on edge for years, that have had some of the most heinous traumatic experiences in their earth walk, and they don't feel themselves, and then they get access to my technology either through one of our affiliates or through a practitioner in their community, or they make the purchase based on what they read and saw about what we do or heard on a podcast like this. And I get the emails from them that talks about them finally feeling themselves again, how grateful they are that they're finally found a way to feel like themselves. And they range from, we just got another testimonial review today for our meditation cushion, and it basically says that it outpaced their expense, that it completely outpaced, actually it's 3 words forward. And Cynthia says exceeds their expectations, 5 stars. Although it's published, it's on my website, right? We get feedback from our clientele on a regular basis talking about the impact that it has on their physiology and backing up exactly what I'm sharing, how powerful our tech is and how much it helps them to relax.
The last question too, what's the form factor of it? Is it a downloadable audio or a device?
So our app is available in the Google Play Store. It's also available in the iOS App Store. It is downloadable. You can stream our music directly through any device. It's designed specifically on the Apple side for the iPhone. However, newer iPads and iPods can play and download the tech and play it without issue. Once you've downloaded our app, then you can decide how you're going to listen to the music, whether it's through headphones, a Bluetooth speaker, if you're going to make the investment for the inHarmony meditation cushion in which you are sitting upright in an ergonomically designed cushion. You can see that on our website, inHarmony.com, and then just go into the shop tab and looking for the inHarmony meditation cushion. Then, or the inHarmony practitioner, which is specifically designed to go on top of a massage table and you are laying down, face down with a face cradle, or on your back. And then the inHarmony Sound Lounge, which is ergonomically designed to have you laying down as well. And that's our most powerful. It's our flagship product. 4 transducers, a 300-watt amplifier, Sennheiser headphone, dual density foam. It's really soft and comfy and very relaxing.
Okay. Well, very good. So what's the best way for people to start the business? Store, websites, and other ways?
You can reach our company on our website, AMINHARMONY, inHarmony.com. You can also find us on all of the socials, just about everywhere. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at inHarmony Interactive. And I'm the one that's on the other side of the messages and the comments. So if you've got a question for me that's specific to something you're working with or working through, you've got a question about our tech, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. At the bottom of our website, you'll find our contact information as well as a phone number. I know that's something that's not done very often, but you can actually pick up the phone and call us during normal business hours. And I'm very happy to connect with you and your audience. Richard, I am eternally grateful for being here, and thank you for allowing me some time to share with your audience.
Magnesium is integral for 600 plus biochemical processes in the human body, and yet most people are deficient. Common signs of magnesium deficiency include fatigue, muscle weakness, stunted growth, poor function, poor concentration and memory, hormonal imbalances, bone and teeth problems. Most people think grabbing a bottle of whatever cheap stuff on the shelf or at the top of Amazon will solve this. The common misconception is that consuming more magnesium will automatically improve health and well-being. The truth is, there are various forms of magnesium, each of which is essential for a variety of physiological processes. Most people are deficient in all forms of magnesium, while even those considered healthy typically only ingest 1 or 2 kinds. Consuming all 7 of magnesium's primary forms is the key to accessing all of its health benefits. That's why we pack 7 forms of 450 milligrams of elemental magnesium into each serving of Wild Mag Complex. 1 dose a day is all you need. Learn more and grab a bottle today at wildfoods.co. Use code GENIUS for 10% off your order.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description and review us on iTunes.
You've been listening to the Finding Genius podcast with Richard Jacobs. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe to the Finding Genius podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And want to be smarter than everybody else? Become a premium member at findinggeniuspodcast.com. This podcast is for information only. No advice of any kind is being given. Any action you take or don't take as a result of listening is your sole responsibility. Consult professionals when advice is needed.